What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at Euro USD, but before we do, very important message. What do you think of the new haircut? Do you like it or do you dislike it? Let me know down below in the comments. I got it very short on the sides. I've been doing this hairstyle, but I know this is not important to trading. So let's go ahead and get into Euro USD. So euro dollar today is going to be a kind of feature for today's kind of technical analysis, because this one has been really interesting lately and has some interesting setups that I want to go through and share with you guys. Do me a favor as we go along, of course, like the video. If you want to see more of these technical breakdowns, I'll make sure to do more of them if people are liking the videos. Also, if we're going to be going over this chart, I want to hear from some of you guys. What do you think about Euro USD? Down below in the comments, let me know if you think Euro dollar is bullish or bearish going into the rest of this week and maybe even into next week. Now, obviously, when we're talking about Euro USD, we are similar to our last technical breakdown on the pound dollar. We are talking about something that is heavily infiltrated by the US dollar. This is going to be a big key component to where the euro dollar decides to move. With that said, the euro in its own respect is a driving force of this as well. Obviously, this is the Euro USD, so we have both kind of moving the price here. Now, for newer traders out there, what a currency pair really is, obviously a lot of people know this already, but a currency pair is we're comparing the two currencies to one another. You can't just look at the USD alone or the euro alone. You kind of have to look at these two things in combination, because again, that's how we're pricing currencies in general. We're deciding which currencies are more, I guess, more valuable than the others by watching the exchanges. Now, when we're looking at the euro dollar though, recently in the last, I guess, several months here, we've actually seen a lot of bullishness on this pair, as well as when we were looking at pound dollar. In fact, this is one of the most impressive uptrends that we've had on Euro USD for a very long time. Let me do some history research with you guys, and you can see we have been underneath this 200-day moving average, which is the red line. We've been underneath that 200-day moving average for a very long time for the most part, okay? In fact, if you're looking at, this is the 20 period moving average right here, and this is the 200 period moving average, as we just mentioned. If we look at that, you can actually see that we have not been over decisively the 20 period over the 200. We haven't been over that since way back here in May of 2018, right? So we've had some very prolonged downtrend overall momentum here on Euro USD. Now that actually has shifted here in 2020, which is very interesting, and I would say probably heavily due to the fact that we do have a global pandemic and we do have things like money printing like crazy going on, interest rates dropping. And let me just give you just a brief overview here of why I think that the Euro USD actually has more potential to the upside. And here's why. Euro USD, for a very long time, the reason this downtrend, part of the reason that downtrend continued was the fundamental side of it, where the currency exchange between these two actually netted a profit by holding it short because of the two differences in interest rates. Now that might be a little bit confusing to the new traders. So maybe you've seen swaps on your broker, right? Now a swap is basically where one currency, there's two currencies, obviously you're in a trade and you are buying and selling one or the other respectively. Now in this case, if you were selling the Euro USD and favoring buying US dollar, the US dollar is actually paying a positive interest for a long time. And so people were getting paid to short the euro, get rid of their euro, and actually buy USD, right? So selling Euro USD held over time was making a profit. That changed in 2020 when the USD dropped its interest rates significantly, right? And now there's not really a huge advantage to holding long-term shorts and collecting swaps. That is called the carry trade, and the carry trade on Euro USD has very drastically changed here in 2020, which in my view is a good chance of why this thing has risen quite substantially, right? Interest rates are a huge factor as to what currencies do. Okay, so there's your fundamentals in my my humble opinion there. So let's jump into some technicals in retrospect to that. So again, we mentioned that 2020, lots of bullishness on the Euro USD, and I think think it does have potential to continue. The Fed has, they've mentioned that they don't have interest in, hiking rates anytime soon. And so, that carry trade might not be coming back for a while, if ever, right? So I think that there's more potential to the upside because it takes a long time for banks and institutions to move their money from one side of a position to another. It's not, a few minutes like it may be for retail traders. It might take a week, a month, 2 months, 5 months, right? So I think there's more potential to the upside here. My opinion only on Euro USD. You should do your own homework. You should make your own decisions. But I liked this uptrend. We did, however, enter into a situation here where there looks to be some short-term bearishness. And let me mention that. So now we've got the daily chart looked at, right, overall uptrend, but we've broken through this upward trend line and actually held pretty bearishly. Now, one more thing that I want to mention on the daily chart here before we move on is you can actually see that we had this level here, right, which was acting basically as a supportive structure and a resistive structure, right? We had this back and forth up here, right? Consolidation up here for quite some time. I held shorts during this time because I was anticipating some sort of correction back down. I had some shorts fortunately up in here, right? And then price did come down, finally broke underneath. And so for the time being, there is some bearish structure in my opinion here on Euro USD. Now, we broke underneath that level, and you can actually see now we are retesting it currently. So far, we are looking bearish off of that level. But where could that price go? I think to get a little bit better of an answer from a technical standpoint, I like looking at the 4-hour chart here. So let's pull this up. 4-hour chart, looking at Euro USD, we've got this trend line here. We have not quite retested that. That could be in interest of the market to retest that, but for the time being, seems to be very much respecting this previous level of support, now turned resistance potentially here. Now, if price decides to keep going lower, the big thing here in my view is to watch for that break beneath that previous low. Now again, we are still in the context of an overall uptrend, so we have to be careful of a strong rally to continue that. The big thing for me is watching to see if this previous low can get broken through. If price decides to break through on that level, I think we have room to actually make our way down to some longer term levels of support, which we will talk about again on the daily chart in just a moment. Okay, so we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, price looks to be holding this level here. If you're a conservative bear here, right, if you're just waiting for some sort of confirmation and looking for a breakout, my favorite setup here would be to look for the break underneath this structure and to get involved looking for something like this, okay? Let's actually highlight that with a theoretical short position. Let's say that we were to target that zone that we just talked about, okay? And we wait for some sort of significant break underneath structure. So this might be, the next week or so, but this is just an idea that I will be looking out for. If price were to break underneath and then come retest that zone, this previous low, that to me looks like a pretty interesting short opportunity. Could actually get a pretty decent risk to reward here. Something like a 2-to-1 might actually make a lot of sense in my view here. So something like this could be a trade setup that I like there on the short term sell side of Euro USD. Now you might say, well, Nick, didn't you just say it's in a roaring uptrend and you think it's going up overall? Yes, and so that is a short-term idea that I have on Euro USD. Again, I would stop out very quickly if price decides to start trending up strong again, but let's talk about a little bit longer term. So back to the daily chart, you can see that price coming down to this area, we can actually extend that out, right, to right around here. Seems to be a long-term area of support or demand, right? So as we look at this in the longer term perspective, if price were to make its way down to this point, right? If we were correct about the short side, the really interesting play to me is the longer term one where I'm looking to get long here on Euro USD at a significant pullback. Now, let's actually see one more thing here. If we were to draw a fib from the top to the bottom there, check this out. That 50% level looks really interesting to me. So this entire trend, right, back from April, May to September, early September, right? That entire trend, the 50% retracement comes down right around where that 200-day moving average could potentially show up. Also, it lines up with this supportive structure here at that previous level, that level being right around 1.14. So those two things to me look like an interesting long-term perspective zone to look at. So if price were to come down, let's say, our theoretical sell side idea, if that were to actually work out, that would be cool. And if price were to come down to this level here, I like the idea of getting long a little bit longer term. So this is again a slower position on the daily chart. So if price were to come down here, I'd probably be looking to put stops somewhere underneath that structure that we just talked about, as well as with the moving average there. So somewhere around this area. And then, there's a couple different places to target. My personal favorite would be, of course, a move back to the highs if that trend really wants to continue. And my personal favorite way of actually taking a setup like this would be to trail stops. And of course, any trades that I end up actually taking, I will be sharing with my community inside of the A1 trading community. You can find out information about that, by the way, in the description down below. See the trades that I am personally taking, as well as join our chat room, see our strategy library, all that other sort of stuff available. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, make sure to like the video down below. Thanks so much, and we'll see you back in the next video.